Welcome, Bronco Nation, to my Boise State alumni in the NFL stat recap for Week 15. Slow stat performance for Boise State players again this week, and part of that had to do with some injuries, which we're going to go into. And then there was also some other additional news that we're going to talk about real quick. This isn't going to be a very long video because, again, there wasn't just that dynamic of a performance overall. But still a couple of weeks left. We still got at least 2 more of these videos coming in for the regular season, and then whatever Boise State players manage to on their teams to get into the offseason, we'll have those videos coming out as well. But 2 more weeks left of the NFL regular season winding down. A few teams are down to 1 game left. I know the Cowboys have 1 game left next week against Philadelphia Eagles. So it's starting to wind down a bit. Coming to the end of the year here, hopefully some Boise State players here can get off a big push towards the end of the year and get some light up the scoreboard numbers. That being said, there are some stat performances to go over here, and we'll list all the players and how they did or didn't do this week. So first off, Minnesota Vikings, Alexander Mattison, back from his appendix surgery that he had. Minor routine surgery there to prevent an appendicitis. And he was back on the field today. So very limited action, which is understandable coming back from an injury, or in this case from the surgery, but having seen the field limited time, not really been spun up into the team's overall game flow. He had sort of limited action. He had 1 carry for 1 yard and 1 reception for 14 yards. The good news is nobody else carried. He was the primary backup today. So other than Dalvin Cook and the quarterback for Minnesota Vikings, besides that, nobody else carried as far as running backs go. So he was the primary backup. He isn't being supplanted. It's nothing like that. It's just limited performance. Dalvin Cook had a great day, over 130 yards rushing. So back on the field, should be seeing some more carries next week and going forward as he gets spun back up into this offense. Green Bay Packers, Billy Wynn is still on injured reserve. Jacksonville Jaguars, Carmelite Correa has left the team. He is no longer on the team for Jacksonville. Hopefully he finds another home. He joined Jacksonville, of course, midway through the season this year. He appeared in 7 games, and he is now off the team. He was not removed. He left for what he called personal reasons, personal issues, that he didn't go into depth on those. So hopefully he finds his place, whatever it is that he's looking for. Hopefully he finds a team that he can meet those goals that he has, and the team that's going to take him as well, and they can work together to meet whatever it is that he is, those issues that he's working through, whatever he is. Hopefully he can find a team that can meet him and walk alongside with him, and he continue to perform exceptionally just like he has done like he did at Boise State. So we're going to the Dallas Cowboys, of course, is where the main chunk of the Boise State players are, and all of them saw action today. So Cedric Wilson saw his first stats recorded since November 26th against Washington. That was the last time he'd played, not the game he played in today, of course, against the 49ers. But that was the last time that he'd seen the field, was in November 26th, or last time he'd recorded stats. He has been on the field. He just hasn't been an active part of the game plan. Today, he was again, mixing him back into the trick play element of the game. He had 1 pass for 12 yards, so not a touchdown this time, but still got the ball off for 12 yards. He's we might as well call him Dallas's second string, or whatever we're at now with all the injuries, 5th string quarterback. He's not. But hey, if Dallas ever faced an issue like Denver did, where they had to knock out, all the quarterbacks were out of the game and they had to go to a wide receiver, it looks like Cedric Wilson would be a great shot. He already has a touchdown pass so far this year. So, but he did see stats today, 1 pass for 12 yards, and he was also involved in the punting game. He's been back there on a few punts, but he hasn't really returned very many this year. But he had a punt return today for 10 yards, which was great to see, and which is a nice, healthy return. 10 yards is a very nice, healthy return. So hopefully he's seeing that he's now getting spun up a little bit more into the game flow. Hopefully we start to see him again used by Dallas as that weapon like we saw before Dak Prescott's injury. Defensive end Tyrone Crawford had 2 tackles, so not quite the performance last week where he had managed 2 sacks, but still he was involved in the game flow today with 2 tackles, and of course he's starting down there in the trenches, so great job for him. Demarcus Lawrence is our Boise State alumni of the year, of the week. We will announce alumni of the year once we get to that point, but Demarcus Lawrence is the Boise State alumni of the week with 5 tackles, 1 sack, and a tackle for loss. A great performance for him after having a very low statistical performance last week, so great to see him getting spun, making that impact on defense, which he really is kind of the heart and soul of the defense for Dallas, their main star there. So 5 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Demarcus Lawrence, our Boise State alumni of the week. Linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, this is some of that bad news. Leighton Vander Esch had, as many of you know already, had a right ankle injury suffered in the third quarter today against the 49ers. He's hoping, and of course all of us are hoping, that it is only a high ankle sprain. He has a MRI scheduled for tomorrow, so hopefully that comes out of that positive and he's able to get back on the field soon. High ankle sprain is not something to be sneezed at, not something that can just necessarily be ran off. So he is probably going to be out at least next week and maybe until the postseason, if there is a postseason for Dallas, but it's the NFC East, so who knows. Assuming that he is able to get back on the field, that would only be the case if it was a high ankle sprain. Anything else would probably require some kind of surgery. So hopefully, for this year's sake, for him getting back on the field, and also for not wanting to have any surgery at all, for his career-wise, it'd be great if it was just that high ankle sprain. We'll be praying for that, hoping that it is just that high ankle sprain. And of course, he will find out Monday, and the team will hopefully give some news sometime tomorrow or maybe later this week. So, safety Darian Thompson. The starters were back. He's been subbing in that backup role at safety. And the safety that he was subbing in for, which I don't remember the name of right now, I apologize for that. Anyhow, the defender that he was subbing in for came back, so he wasn't on the field starting today. However, there was another injury. Dallas had a rash of injuries today by Xavier Woods, who is the starting safety. Leighton Vander Esch and Gallup all had injuries, and there was someone else as well that had some injuries. Anyhow, Xavier Woods went out with a chest injury in the game, so Darian Thompson stepped in his absence, and he had 2 tackles today for Dallas. Xavier Woods is going to be out for an extended period of time. Of course, Darian Thompson can take over. He's done an exemplary job the last couple of weeks, had one of his best performances last week against the Bengals, where he actually got a interception against Cincinnati. So he's been doing a great job. He'll be a great sub-in if he needs to be, like he already has been. But 2 tackles today for Darian Thompson. Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver John Hightower, for the second week in a row, he was not activated. He was inactive, healthy scratch, which means that he's not dealing with any injuries. It's not COVID. The team just decided not to activate him. They haven't really liked what they've seen out of him so far this year. He's had a lot of dropped passes and issues with that, and he's kind of just been a one-shot, deep pass kind of guy. They haven't been mixing him into the route running, whatever that is. I think a lot of that, like I said before, had to do with COVID hitting and not getting to get in that full preseason practice to get spun up into this offense. So hopefully going forward, he can reestablish himself. But as of right now, he is kind of getting the blanket, getting just kind of passed over, as it were, by the Eagles. So no stats recorded this week. Inactive, healthy scratch. Tennessee Titans, Jerry McNichols, more slightly, not injury related, but more bad news, as it were. Only 1 reception for 5 yards, and that was because the Tennessee Titans had a new running back taking the primary backup carries and reps today. Durant, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name. Darrynton Evans, I think is how you say it, but I'm probably wrong. Anyhow, Darrynton Evans today had 8 carries for 30 yards, subbing behind Derrick Henry, and he had 2 receptions and a touchdown. They were Tennessee Titans Jerry McNichols, I think, has played okay, but he has had issues being explosive. He's been, I think, consistent and reliable, but he hasn't had the same explosive step that perhaps Tennessee Titans are looking for, like Derrick Henry. So they're trying out Darrynton Evans, it seemed today, and after his performance, is a strong possibility, depending on what happens in the but in the off week. In practice is what I'm trying to say. Depending on what happens in that, Darrynton Evans might end up jumping over McNichols here in the depth chart, which would be unfortunate, having seen what a great job I think McNichols has done coming in after coming off the practice squad. Hopefully, McNichols, with his versatility, especially in the passing game, can continue to hold on to a roster spot there. Atlanta Falcons, defensive end Durant Miles, no stats. Brett Rippon for the Denver Broncos, no stats. San Francisco 49ers, Jamar Taylor, of course, is on injured reserve. And Arizona Cardinals linebacker Tanner Vallejo, no stats. As far as offensive line goes, offensive tackle Ezra Cleveland for the Vikings, offensive tackle Charles Leno Jr. for the Bears, and center Matt Paradis for the Panthers were all active today. So great. I wouldn't say great performance statistically for the Boise State Broncos, but there were some exemplary and great performances, such as Demarcus Lawrence's this week, and hopefully next week we can see a little bit more of a stat progression, especially with players having come back off of injury and getting back into the flow, and then some players perhaps getting chances because of injuries, as was suffered by Xavier Woods. So hopefully we'll see some more statistically significant performances next week, and we'll see how that goes. Of course, watch out for that video. No bowl game, of course. That's another thing that's just recently happened. I'm sure everyone's aware of it. We've seen the articles coming around. The Boise State Broncos have opted out of the bowl season, so I won't be making a Boise State 3 Keys to the Game video. For that, I've made my last one for the game against San Jose State. I will be making a bowl season review video of some form. Now that Boise State's not really playing and they don't have a chance to get into the top 25, I'm going to adjust the format of how I do that, but it will still be from a Boise State perspective, and it will be a rooting guide of sorts is what I'm thinking for Boise State fans for the bowl season. And then I'll also be making a season review video. I'll be making that one more towards the end of December, early January. Season review of this weird and wacky COVID season for Boise State. And of course, I'll be having a couple more videos coming out, at least a couple more videos coming out for Boise State statistical reviews. And then if any players get into the playoffs, we'll be doing videos, no matter how short they are, about those players' performances. Perhaps if it's just a few, we can dive in a little bit more in depth to those players and maybe their performance throughout the year. So thank you for watching this video. Make sure you join Bronco Nation Updates. Over 8,000 members. Is a great page to make sure you can root on Boise State Broncos and keep abreast of any news or info that comes out about Boise State throughout the year. And of course, not just in football, but in all of Boise State's incredible sports. So thank you so much for watching this video. As always, #cancel the CFP playoff committee and go Big Blue.